It's hard because you're dealing with people, and anytime you are dealing with people, there are clear principles to follow, but there are no clear answers.
It's situational dependent. In the later section, I want to really hit on how to kind of break up your teams, like what your goals are. And when you have stability versus growth, there's different ways you may want to break up your team. And this is such an interesting topic that I think like 5 minutes would be fun, but I don't want to hit it here.
Yeah, let's not hit it here because we could definitely go. We could go quite a while on that type of philosophy. There, yeah, there are multiple books on that type of stuff. One good book, and you may have heard of it, is "The Five Dysfunctions of Teams." I think that's what the book is called. Have you read that one? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Um, there's others. Uh, anyway, they'll come to me as we're talking. So
Yeah. So after he talks about breaking up into the smaller groups of teams, he then goes into he's still talking about how he set it up in his combat situation. There's for Jocko, he had platoon leaders that only had um, three squads, three or four squads that they had to worry about, generally three, and then his platoon chief. And then on top above him, there was a company leader, commander, who had essentially just a couple platoon leaders and his fire chief, and it just keeps going up, right? You have two all the way throughout. You have two, three, four people you're leading, all the way up until Jocko, where he then had to coordinate just a couple leaders on his side, but then he had to coordinate some leaders on the battlefield outside, where he was coordinating the SEAL resources for the snipers and the resources of tank commanders, of whatever ground troop commanders, of signal teams, of air force, of artillery, all that kind of beautiful stuff. Artillery, king of battle. Just had to throw that out there.
I'm not saying anything because well, yeah, because my grandfather was cavalry, and my job was definitely not that. So my job was the sneaky stuff. So
You had so much fun. You got stories. And I don't have any stories because I was very boring. Um, so boring and so desperate. Um,
is that why you have to be careful about around women, Phil? Because you're desperate.
so desperate, so desperate. I'm blessed. My wife is like a 10.
I'm gonna have to meet her one day.
You have to. You have to. You'll have fun. She may like you more than me and run off with you. So I'll have to wait until you're a little older.
You're gonna have to bring the family here to the U.S. to vacation.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be fun. There's so many places I want to go on vacation, but um, the world is so small and so big at the same time. I don't think I have enough lifetime. Um,
So he's coordinating.
just coordinating. Junior leaders had to learn that they have to make decisions, and part of that is not asking. They can't ask, "What do I do?" Right? That's not allowed in this situation. Once the game starts, they can no longer say, What should I do? What can I do?" They then have to say, "I will do this. This is what I'm doing." Shoot it up, and the when it gets up to the next above that, they have to facilitate that whole thing. And I'm going to kind of jump ahead a whole bunch of crap at this point. When your subordinate people say, "I'm doing this," you have to, if you're doing decentralized, you have to empower them to say, "This is what I'm doing," not "What do I need to do?" And if they ever say, "What do I need to do?" it needs to be a situation that is so outside of the normal that they just don't have enough information and it's critical. So they really need to be comfortable with saying, "This is what I'm doing. pushing it up and being able to start action and respond quickly if they get a message back saying, no, you need to change your course. And maybe you give them a reason, maybe you don't, but they have to have that comfort in there. And the leader that's getting this doesn't need to see himself as being ridiculed or disrespected when things change. He needs to, at this point, he should be proud that his subordinates are taking charge and executing without him, and he needs to facilitate that up or down, whatever, laterally, to make it happen, to get them whatever resources he anticipates that they'll need, because the team is probably at this point should be relying on him to then provide whatever resources they need to support the choice that they made, because they're the ones with the information on the spot.
So I want to pause you there for a second because this is something that in the nuclear service we hammer home big time. We hammer Yeah, we hammer home very heavily that one, safety is everybody's responsibility. Yes, like if you're working in some industrial place, you hear that stupid phrase all over the place, and it is a stupid phrase. But really, when you're in the nuke service and you're operating a nuclear reactor, hell yeah, safety is everybody's business because you mess that up, you kill the entire you kill your entire crew. Like that's not good.
Or you lay waste to a whole agriculture.
Well, if you're in a um yeah, like Chernobyl. Um yeah, Chernobyl is the only example of that, and I'm serious about that. Fukushima is different, completely different. And 3 Mile Island was nothing. Like we talk about that, but really it was nothing. um
Yeah, it's separated by water.
Oh yeah, and that's what keeps us very safe. There have been two. We have lost two nuclear submarines in the entire service of nuclear subs since the 50s, and both of them we can pretty much guarantee that there is no radioactivity going on in that area where those two subs are. Just there just isn't because of the way the safety protocols and everything that we put into place. It's very yeah. There has literally been no nuclear accident in the nuclear navy. It's just stated fact. Um and
God
all
bless
of
them.
it is because of the safety procedures that we put into place, and a lot of it is it's this decentralized command, it's this idea of ownership. One of the things that we end up doing is it, we have to follow procedures, and we have tons of procedures and stuff. Like everything is written out for us, and we have to follow it very carefully. And so what you end up doing very often is when you want to do something, when you want to perform an action, you tell the person above you saying things like, "Sir, I intend to do X," and then they confirm, they verify. Very well. That's the response that you get back. Like it's very scripted, a very scripted response. Because the whole idea is that you are taking
Hmm.
responsibility for your station, and you are taking ownership of the actions that you are about to take, and you are giving giving your senior the person above you the opportunity to intervene. And that's what decentralized, like that's one of the powers of decentralized command, is you as the subordinate are taking ownership and taking responsibility for what you are doing, and you are informing the person above you so they are aware of what's going on and can either step in and say, no, I would prefer this, or I just give you the acknowledgement of go ahead. And in the service in the Navy, that goes all the way down to the most junior level sailor, like the most junior level sailor on the boat. When they're performing an action, it's not always because they're being told to go do something. Very often it's, I intend to do this, sir. And then the sir says very well or no or whatnot. Like that's a very important interaction that's going on. And that's something very important for you if you are in the corporate world. You should never ever, well, you should rarely go to your boss with a problem and that be it. You should go to your boss with a problem
Hmm.
and a solution, because one of the
Like that.
one of the hardest things that you can do is, the your boss is busy, like extremely busy, and I've been there, and it drove me nuts when I had junior devs coming to me and saying, what should I do, what do I do, how do I do this, what is like, that's not why I hired you. I hired you to be a problem solver. Come to me and say, hey, we have this. I just ran into this problem. This is what I did, or this is what I want to do, or what I'm going to do. And I will give you the acknowledgement of, okay, cool, great, whatever. Because that alleviates me as the senior of the necessary thought processes, this necessary cognitive load of having to try and figure out a solution while I am dealing with some other fire that you do not know about. And it really is, it is very often I am dealing with a fire that you don't know about, and it's not because I don't want you to know about it, it's because you don't need to know about
You just don't need to deal with it, right? It's your job to protect, compartmentalize problems, to protect people from things that they can't work on or that's going to bother their performance. And that's part of what a leader should do.
Now there is a dichotomy to that of, I don't want to shield everybody from absolutely everything to the point where they are all siloed within their within their respective fields. Like I do want communication. I do want like talk. I want like cross pollination and stuff. But part of my job as a senior is to recognize when when a fire is going on, that I have to recognize, okay, is this a fire that you as a junior need to know about, because you are working on, like it's a balancing act. It's as Jocko says, it's a dichotomy, because I need to recognize, all right, what are you working on right now? Okay, you're working on something super important. If I bring this fire up to your attention, that's going to take you away from working on this other thing that is super important. Phil just commented, protect the innocent from distractions. Exactly, exactly. Because it's my job as the senior to recognize when you need to know about certain things and when you don't. And it's not, like I said, it's not that I don't want you to know about that stuff. It's that I'm trying to keep you being to, like, I'm trying to help you be effective and everything. Like, as soon as like some fire is done, I will come and tell you about it, because that's the other aspect of this. Like, I'm a huge believer in open communication. Like, I am a huge one. If you are in at a company and you have Slack and you notice that there's a lot of private Slack channels, there's a problem. And I'm serious about that. Like, I do not like that. I think that is a problem, because it brings up for a lot of people, like, what are you trying to hide? What are you trying, like, what are you doing?
Well, you should know the Slack channels, private Slack channels, are not private.
That's the other aspect of it.
The way, just so you should know, like if they have a certain membership, that's all open to the owners of the channel.
And the other aspect is even DMs. Even DMs are.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The private messages inside that channel.
No, 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 no. The private messages inside the Slack workspace. And then the private channel, like, if you're an admin on Slack, you can, yeah,
Okay, I mixed up workspace and channel. Yeah,
yeah. But like, their channels can be private too. It's just, it's a mess. I really don't like private channels. I'm not like a huge fan of it, because to me, like I said, you're siloing things, and it brings into my mind, what are you trying to hide? I'm a huge open communication fan.
me too. But I don't want notifications for every little thing, right? Like I have the image of Alan running around with his hair on fire, fixing everything, and three people running behind you with marshmallows cooking on the fire over your head and saying, "Well, you told us about the problem, so we're having fun with the fire."
Yeah, so that was me years ago. Like that's how I was years ago. But I have since learned, yeah, no, I don't want that. But that's my point. Or but like one of the nice things with let's just continue working on with the Slack example. You can create like I'm a fan of you create channels and you add people to the channels that need to be in the channels. Don't like turn off the feature that as soon as you create a channel, there's a feature in Slack where as soon as you create a channel, everybody gets added to that. That feature needs to be turned off first off. And anytime you create a channel, the channel like you should always default to public. You're even if you all have contractors who are coming in, like I'm not a huge to be blunt about this, there is very, very little information out there that needs to be secret within corporations. Very little. And that information is usually centered around financials. That's the stuff that probably should be secret. But business strategy and business decisions and corporate strategy and things like that, they don't need to be secret. Who cares? Like a book that we need to read is called Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Okay, in it he points out who gives a flying flip what your competitor is doing. It does not matter. Okay, when you start caring about what your competitor is doing is when you've lost the game. And it's the people who don't care about what their competitor is doing and focus on just the game itself. Okay, that's when those people succeed phenomenally. Okay, there's a reason Apple was I don't know how successful we can consider them today, but there's a reason why Apple was so successful under Steve Jobs. Like he didn't care what Microsoft was doing. He couldn't care less. And that was extremely important. So anyway, like I said, there's very little that within a business that needs to be kept secret. Open Slack channels, open communication, all of that stuff is extremely important because that builds trust. That builds that ability of you to be able to go and give your empower your subordinates and such. So, all right, we have been really going on about this, and I feel like there's more and more that we can talk about. What do you think so?
Yeah, yeah. So just to point out, we are at the so far we've discussed the first 8.5 minutes of the book, the chapter, but the rest wraps up pretty quick. Um, what are your thoughts?
So, I think we need to do another episode on this.
Okay, all right.
So I would say let's wrap up the public portion of this, and we can move into the private because of time and everything. So we will return in the next episode, and we're going to continue talking about decentralized command. I'm actually kind of happy that this is a very this is an important chapter because it is honestly, it's really diving into how teams are run and how you should run your teams. And I think that's I think it's a cool topic, and I like it. So, all right, so go for it.
Can I give a little teaser? So when we come back, we're going to go back to Armadi, and we're going to see what's happening up on that rooftop.
Yeah, because it's a really interesting conclusion. So, all right, we'll talk to you all. If you're free or you're getting this through Apple or Spotify or your normal podcasts and stuff, we'll talk to you next week and continue about this. If you're paid, hang on, hang tight. All right, silence. All right, so I've got about 30 minutes.
Perfect transition point, actually. Okay, cool. So, what do you think? If in the corporate world, how would Alan go about creating a program where you develop the leaders to operate in a decentralized manner?
It has to start at the beginning. As soon as somebody,
Does it? This chapter started at the end.
I always start at the end. I guess what I mean when I say, oh, it has to start at the beginning is it has to start as soon as you bring them on board. Because here's the thing: leadership is something that happens at every level. We can I mean, we can really take this book as a fantastic example of it, because they talk about extreme ownership from the beginning. And what you need to do is, as soon as you are bringing people on board, you have to create a culture of leadership. You have to create a culture of ownership. And that's one of the things that you have to kind of hammer very hard. So, there's an old company that I used to work for. I want to see if they changed up some things. Hold on.
While you're looking on, like, I think you're right. It starts when you're hiring, and the people that you're hiring have to accept or already know that they're going into a culture of self accountability.
Yeah.
And if you don't start there, you're going to find that you got great talent that simply cannot accept the environment.